Hi friends, welcome back to 5 Minute Modern, where in 5 minutes or less we learn about an important artist, artwork, or concept in the history of modern art. My name is Cindy, and today we're going to hell, along with Robert Rauschenberg. Born in 1925 in Texas, Rauschenberg became one of the best-known American artists of the post-war period. Rauschenberg created his first major works with his single-color white paintings, which he described as being hypersensitive works that reflected the light and shadows cast in a room. In the preceding years, Rauschenberg turned the works for which he became famous, blends of assemblage, painting, and collage, which he called combines. Perhaps the most famous of these is Monogram, which Rauschenberg worked on from 1955 to 1959, and features a taxidermied goat fitted into a tire and standing atop a collaged and painted platform. Rauschenberg rejected any singular explanation for these combines, comparing them to newspapers in which each article had its own subject. In spite of the success of his earlier work, Rauschenberg wanted to counter criticisms at the supposed lack of skill required for his white paintings and his combines, and also to challenge himself as an artist by undertaking a large-scale drawing project. And so in 1958, he began work on a series of illustrations for Dante Alighieri's Inferno, the first part of a trilogy in which the poet imagines himself descending into hell. A 1954 translation of the Inferno by John Ciardi had recently sparked new interest in the work in America. Rauschenberg had actually not read the Inferno before he began work. Owing to his dyslexia, he didn't read much of anything. But he had been interested in the classical illustrations of the text by Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. Rauschenberg's illustrations bear almost no resemblance to Botticelli's, though, not least because Rauschenberg wanted the drawings to feel current. He pulled in contemporary characters just as Dante had. Virgil was depicted by Adlai Stevenson, gas-masked armies served as demon squads, and the image of Dante himself was a man in a towel featured in a Sports Illustrated ad for golf clubs. Rauschenberg was able to copy these images using a solvent transfer technique which he had invented, in which the images were moistened with lighter fluid, placed face down, and then pressed in until they transferred to the paper. Rauschenberg did spend an immense amount of time working on the project, seeking the insight of Dante scholar Michael Sonnabend into the allegories in the poem, and developing his own symbology for the work. Rauschenberg used short pencil strokes where Dante described a sound, a rusty red color to denote references to blood, and the worst fires of hell were depicted as oil derricks. Rauschenberg made a total of 34 illustrations, one for each canto of Dante's Inferno. In doing so, he broke with a long tradition in which artists typically only selected a few scenes from the Inferno rather than trying to illustrate the whole poem. In Rauschenberg's series, the transferred images are disjointed, overlaid in different orientations, sometimes reversed, sometimes seeming tossed about by the washes of color around them. They're highly turbulent, perhaps reflecting the journey through time and space that makes up the Inferno, or perhaps reflecting Rauschenberg's own struggle with the Inferno's author. Rauschenberg expressed a great deal of frustration with Dante, not least because of a scene in which Virgil abandons his old teacher Bruno Latini after encountering him among the sodomites in hell. For Rauschenberg, who was bisexual, the homophobic moralizing was irritating, to say the least. Many art historians have read Rauschenberg's works as commenting on gay love and desire, though they also explore the power of popular culture and the domination of people by their leaders. Much like Rauschenberg's combines, I think it's difficult to select one singular interpretation with so many disparate elements brought together. Yet, when I look at the series as a whole, I think primarily of Rauschenberg's description of it as a test in which he could face his weaknesses as an artist. In spite of the popularity of the Inferno at the time, it's hard for me to read Rauschenberg's choice to illustrate a journey into hell as purely incidental. He said he wanted to quiet his critics, but perhaps it was less a matter of silencing art writers and curators, and more a matter of descending to a hell within, silencing his own inner critic. enduring a difficult project and finding himself worthy. The series was a major critical success, earning Rauschenberg's work favorable comparisons to the hellscapes of Hieronymus Bosch and Michelangelo. Rauschenberg would continue innovating and experimenting with new techniques for the remainder of his life, still planning large-scale photography projects from his wheelchair when he died in 2008. Famed art critic Jerry Saltz identified Rauschenberg as the definitive giant of American art, noting that he had pushed the boundaries of art so fearlessly. But what did Rauschenberg have to fear? After all, he had already been through hell. Thanks so much for watching this one. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed taking a look at these unique works. Please let me know in the comments what you thought, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.